Wolves. Wherever they appear, danger threatens. Some would say, even for humans. The weakest in the pack is the whipping boy. It only survives by extreme subservience. The dominant pair rule over the others. These phenomena have often been observed in captivity. But does this struggle for supremacy in the pack also exist in the wild? For many years, it wasn't possible to study wolves in Germany in their natural surroundings. Now they've been back 10 years and are spreading out. This film shows how wolves live in the wild. Footage of a kind never before shot in Europe. Since 2003, Sebastian Körner has been documenting the wolves' return with his camera. And at every attempt, the watchword is patience. At first, the only wildlife he can film is what the wolves usually regard as prey: red and roe deer. Now and then, the biologist also manages to catch wild boar on camera. Like the cautious, rare wolves, they are mostly active at night. Hitherto, the behavior of wolves has mostly been studied in captivity. In the 1970s, the Swedish biologist Erik Ziemann bottle-reared wolf pups and was able to show that wolves are socially organized animals with a wide range of forms of expression. Ziemann also observed that his wolves formed a strict hierarchy. Once, the leader of the pack tried to rebel against him. When Alexander got down from my shoulders, he went some distance away and sent Mark to bush. Then, so as not to lose my wolfish face, as it were, I had no choice but to go to another bush and urinate on that. On the other side of the Atlantic, someone else had begun studying wolves even before Erik Ziemann. From the start, however, American scientist David Meach has been observing wolves in the wild. To do so, he had to follow them to the remotest places, like the Arctic tundra. Meach is one of the world's leading experts on the behavior of wild wolves.
On Ellesmere Island, what makes it so beneficial to advantageous to study wolves there is that they're tame. They're not afraid of humans, whereas every other place they're very afraid of people. So I can just sit there and watch their natural behavior.
At first, David Meach tried to get his observations to fit the thinking of the time on pack hierarchy.
And so we thought, when I did the original book, that that's the normal behavior of wolves. But as I learned more and more about wolves, I found out that really that's not the way packs form.
This is no wolf in the Canadian wilderness, but in the German state of Saxonia. At the end of the 1990s, conservation measures started to take effect. Now there are populations in most European countries, with about 100 wild wolves in Germany. Upper Lusatia. Idyllic countryside borders on gigantic open-cast brown coal mines. Scientists from Lupus Wildlife Consulting are on the trail of Germany's wolves. They're collecting data for the Saxonian Environment Ministry.
So 1,24.
The danger of mistaking dog for wolf tracks is quite large, so Gesa Kluth takes special care to document the tracks. Otherwise, it would be hard for other experts to evaluate her data. Gesa is sure the returnees will stay.
The wolves will spread across Germany and settle in other federal states, which are at the moment wolf-free. And I'm convinced that they will become a normal part of the wildlife in many parts of Germany in future.
For many years, this was not the case. The last wolf in Germany was killed about 150 years ago. They returned across the Polish-German border and were caught on camera by the German Border Authority. After crossing the River Oder, they slowly gained a foothold. The areas they settled in seemed at first glance unusual, if not unsuitable. The Muskauer Heide military training area in Saxonia. Winter 2001. Gesa Kluth is looking for traces. Patience rewarded. The first wolf tracks on German ground. No doubts?
No, no doubts.
Gesa can scarcely believe her luck.
This is really sensational.
Several months were to pass before these tracks led to the first wolf. A wolf catching a mouse. Back then, these pictures were a feast for the media. From Saxonia, the wolves went on to colonize rural areas of Germany and have even been sighted close to the big cities of Berlin and Hamburg. And their numbers are rising. It is thus becoming ever more important to know how these large predators behave and spread. At the beginning of June, Gesa Kluth found traces of a wolf pup and at once informed Sebastian Körner. Sebastian has never filmed such young pups. At just 6 weeks old, they're already roaming around on their own. If there is a hierarchy among wild wolves, then surely it must be visible at an early stage. But maybe these pups are just too young. At Lupus, all the data on the Lusatian wolves is collected. Gesa discusses with her colleague Ilke Reinhardt where wolf pups have been identified this year. This allows Ilke to deduce where the wolves' territories are located.
This map shows where there's been evidence of pups and where their presence has been proved from the last monitoring year. The places where we found this evidence are, as a rule, at the center of the wolves' territories, where the individual packs bring up their pups.
A wolf pack's territory in Lusatia covers about 250 square kilometers. In late summer, Gesa and Ilke are looking for a den in which a female bore 4 to 8 pups at the beginning of May. The pack has long since left, and the biologists want to know how deep she had dug.
Wow. Gesa, it's here.
Well equipped, Ilka crawls into the den.
Does it go down steeply again? There's something lying here. Maybe some leftover food. Now I'm measuring the chamber.
60 centimeters wide, 1 meter long, and 45 centimeters high. The entrance alone is 2 meters long. A successful day for Ilka and Gesa. Sebastian, however, has to go on looking for wolf pups. Once upon a time, brown coal was mined here. Now it is hoped that a new Lusatian lakeland will fuel an upsurge in tourism. The region even gave the local wolves their name, the Lakeland Pack. It is August, and at the meeting point, the so-called rendezvous site, the 3.5-month-old pups are waiting to be fed. Sebastian finally has some new subjects for his camera and can further pursue the question of hierarchy among wild wolves. Maybe the older pups teach the younger ones the ropes. The biologist decides to call the young female with the slight squint Silberblick. She seems particularly cheeky. Over and over again, Silberblick entices her siblings with a half-chewed mouse, only to then not hand it over after all, even though she's obviously not the strongest in the group. By way of greeting, another strong pup is given some roughhouse by its siblings. Only then can it join in. Silberblick has found an old ball, probably lost by some dog being taken for a walk. This play fighting also has nothing to do with establishing a hierarchy, and those on the bottom poke those up top if the horseplay should suddenly stop. At the end of September, Silberblick and her siblings almost look like fully grown wolves. Sebastian is pretty certain that there is no hierarchy among them. But what about older wolves? How many adult wolves does a pack actually have? Once again, Sebastian needs all his patience. Not until the following February does he manage to film the adult wolves in the Lakeland Pack. The she-wolf is an old acquaintance. Years before, she was leader of another pack. Now, with a new mate, Sunny has founded the Lakeland Pack. Sebastian gives Sunny's mate the name Rufus because of his red colouring. He is followed shortly by 2 of the pups that were born last May. A big male greets Rufus. The son confirms to the father that he is still dependent on him for his welfare. And who is still the liveliest pup? Tenaciously, Silberblick demands that her siblings play tag with her. And finally, her persistence pays off. widely accepted image that wolves form large packs containing many adult animals is thus proved wrong.
A wild wolf pack is usually a family, quite similar to a human family in fact. Two wolves meet, mate, occupy a territory, and then start a family.
In April, the Lakeland pack relocates its rendezvous site to a large field of rye. The red deer does don't seem bothered, until Silberblick turns up. Just the right thing for the cocky she-wolf, still less than a year old. The outcome of the chase is unknown. By evening, peace and calm have returned. One of Silberblick's brothers is still occupied with smaller titbits and tries to catch a mouse. The young male is looking for its siblings and, above all, its parents. And what's this? An experienced wolf would have gone long ago. The young animal is nervous. Uncertainly, it calls its family. But the only animals in the vicinity are a few grazing roe deer. One of Silberblick's sisters is drugged and fitted with a GPS collar, which will now send text messages on the animal's location. The German Federal Agency of Nature Conservation has asked the lupus biologists to find out how long young wolves stay with their parents, whether they migrate, and if so, where to. Gesa and Ilka called the GPS wolf Mona. One week after getting the collar, Mona apparently feels just dandy. It is now June. A month ago, in a well-hidden den, the Lakeland mother wolf Sunny gave birth to another litter. Sebastian has not seen the little ones yet. Shortly afterwards, Silberblick turns up. She's limping. Maybe she got hurt in an altercation with a red deer. The fox does the sensible thing and clears off. Wolves are very intolerant of their smaller cousins. The young wolves, now over a year old, are collecting valuable experiences, still in the safety of the parental territory. A kestrel has spotted a cricket. Someone else also seems interested. But the cricket doesn't have to worry. No longer a pup, but not yet an adult. Sometimes the life of a so-called yearling can be pretty boring. Something is happening in the rye field. Harvest time. Noise and dust from dawn to dusk. Mother Wolf Sunny inspects the state of affairs. Shortly afterwards, she's joined by most of the rest of her pack. Rufus, the father wolf. One big brother takes care of his little sister. Silberblick has only just missed her pack. She's no longer limping and makes a strong, healthy impression. Then her sister Mona turns up. Silberblick takes up a submissive position towards her sister. So is there a competitive hierarchy in a wild wolf pack after all?
It was pretty tough the way Mona rode roughshod over her sister. Having said that, quarrels between siblings are quite normal. We're not talking about a long-term hierarchy in the pack. The only hierarchy that exists is between the parents and their offspring, with the parents dominating. There isn't anything like a competitive ranking, whereby individual adult wolves try and fight their way to the top.
the morning after the harvest. The conflict between Mona and Silberblick seems forgotten. For Sebastian and the scientists, it's becoming ever clearer that the popular school of thought about hierarchies in wolf packs in captivity does not apply in the wild. This year, Sunny is bringing up only 3 pups. At 10 years, the mother of the Lakeland pack is already fairly old for a wolf in the wild. The pups can't deal with a bone this big. At last, Sunny regurgitates the meat. Big Brother again brings up the rear. Early autumn at the Brown coal mine. A 1.5-year-old female plays with her younger siblings. This babysitting is good practice for a successful later life as a mother. The young female is strong. She could already look for her own territory. So why do her parents tolerate her for so long in their hunting grounds? The answer is as simple as it is practical. While the older offspring look after their little brothers and sisters, the parents can hunt or rest, another aspect that made the wolf so suitable to become man's best friend. Yearling wolves help their parents, dogs help their masters and mistresses. When the car from the security company approaches, Big Sister organizes an orderly retreat. At some point, it is time to leave the parents. But when and where do the young wolves migrate to?
This is Alan, MT3, whom we caught on the 13th of March 2009 and fitted with a GPS collar. First he spent 6 weeks at home with the pack, and then at the end of April he left and migrated, at the age of 12 months. And surprisingly, he quickly migrated all the way to Belarus. He covered a total distance of 1,550 kilometers. Just before Alan, we fitted one of his brothers, Karl, with a collar, and he did something fascinating. In March 2009, he made an excursion of about 150 kilometers from home, and then came back. After that, he was mainly at home, but went on all kinds of expeditions in different directions from his parents' territory and had a good look around in other territories and covered nearly 200 square kilometers on the way.
In Germany, encounters between wolf and human are, if at all, only dangerous for the animal. Since the year 2000, 26 wolves have been run over. This young female didn't die as roadkill.
There's a round hole here.
Since the year 2000, 8 illegal shootings have been registered in Germany. The actual number of cases is probably much higher. The military training ground at Altengrabo near Magdeburg, home to the first wolf pack in Germany outside Lusatia. Here too, the wildlife does not live in constant fear of the wolves. Vigilant roe deer disappear quickly into the undergrowth. Wild boar sometimes even turn the tables and attack wolves in order to protect their young. High summer. The wolves' meeting place in Altengrabo is next to a pond. The pups are out on their own. A refreshing bath is just the thing. At first, there's no sign of the older wolves. In the end, the father misses his offspring by just a few minutes. Their scent still hangs in the grass. This penetrating look may, to some people, seem evil. Others say that wolves can see straight into the soul. Biologists, however, regard wolves as a normal and important part of our wildlife. Back in Upper Lusatia. In the territory to the east, Gesa and Ilka check a camera trap that is triggered automatically. At night, it takes pictures with an invisible infrared flash.
56 pictures and 65% battery.
The photos are stored on a memory card.
Oh, wolf.
Look, here he comes.
That's the male. Yeah, and he's reacting to Jacques.
Look, he's having a wee.
And now he's marking above it. Look, here she comes, the female.
Pairs of wolves regularly mark their territory. It has to be big enough to enable the parents to catch enough prey every year to support a family. When the offspring are old enough, they migrate. That's why there are relatively few wolves over a wide area. The pair go on patrol. There is no howling to announce the hunt, and no yearlings are called to join in. The wolves have to roam their territory until they find prey that isn't looking out properly. Usually prey that is young, sick, injured, or very old. The stag notices the wolves in time and immediately moves some distance away. Not every encounter between wolf and potential prey leads to an attack. Far from it. But do wild wolves behave similarly in other parts of the world? To find out, Sebastian travels to North America, to the oldest national park in the world. Yellowstone. Might he even be able to film wolves on the hunt here? Humans don't hunt in Yellowstone. That's why the elks and other wildlife are also active during the day and don't mind being watched. Wolves were eradicated in the park to protect the peaceful herbivores, which promptly multiplied unchecked and destroyed their own habitat. To bring nature back into balance, wolves were reintroduced in 1995. Winter is the hardest season for elk, and the best for wolves. '06, the mother wolf of the Lamar pack, tests an elk. Can she attack without risk? But the elk cow is determined to defend itself. David Meach assumes that the prey doesn't live in constant fear of the wolves.
If you were to look at the life of an individual prey animal, once it survives being young, most of these prey animals live for a long time. And it isn't until their life's end that they end up getting killed by wolves. So they really don't have, I don't know why they would have a fear, because they survive. It's hard to believe that they're stressed.
The cow is surrounded. But do wolves only hunt in packs? It's soon obvious that, for the young wolves of the Lamar pack, this is more of a game. They still have a lot to learn. Bored, the father wolf turns away. In the meantime, the mother wolf is moving around on her own again. She's spotted some potential prey. An elk calf. She quickly wrestles the elk to the ground to avoid dangerous hoof kicks. Within 2 minutes, the prey is dead. The mother didn't need the pack to hunt successfully. Experienced parent wolves usually hunt on their own or as a pair. 2 adult animals can provide for their large families well enough. The female brings her family to the dead prey. Do the adults nip at the young to keep them away so they can eat first? No, because the parents want their offspring to grow up big and strong. So why is the idea of a bitterly competitive hierarchy in the wolf pack so enduring?
There is the whole idea in humans of leaders and people who are dominant to others in that. And I think that when they see this in wolves, they seem to see a similarity or something. And yet, in a lot of cases, the wolves seem to be more peaceful than humans in a lot of respects.
A cold February day in Lusatia. It's mating time for the wolves. GPS wolf Carl has grown into a fine specimen of a young adult. The wolf on the ice with his family is the territory owner and also fitted with a GPS collar. Audaciously, Carl puts down a scent mark right in the middle of his rival's living room. The wound in the face may well have come from a fight with Carl. The message of the pack is clear. We don't want you here. Carl has lost the fight for the foreign territory and now has to look for his own hunting grounds. Ilke Reinhardt will continue to monitor his progress.
I'm very happy to see that things have developed so positively. That was by no means certain at the beginning. From 1 pack in the year 2000, and now, 11 years later, there are 8 packs in the region.
That's certainly a success story. It's especially interesting and satisfying to be able to track individual wolves over a period of years and observe their history as it unfolds, and to really understand how wolves live and how they live here in the region.
Back to the Lakeland Pack's rendezvous site. Mona is now over 2 years old and still lives at home. 2 one-year-old sisters are close behind. Together they wait for their parents. After many weeks and months spent in the immediate vicinity of wild wolves, Sebastian now knows. They aren't, as we once thought, individuals fighting for supremacy in the pack. Wild wolves are above all friendly family creatures. In Lusatia, the ancient interplay between hunters and hunted continues. There are only ever as many wolves as the amount of prey can support. The prey even benefits. The strongest and cleverest survive and pass on their genes to the next generation. The aging mother wolf Sunny had another litter this year. As Gesa Klut sees it, it's up to all of us how life with the wolves develops.
I think good long-term coexistence between humans and wolves requires a willingness on our part to tolerate the fact that the wolves are here and to solve any problems that may arise. We have to be constructive and open to the fact that this aspect of nature is returning to Germany.
18 months after losing the howling contest, Karl has done it. He has his own territory and a mate. And his first major deed has been to father 6 pups. Germany's wild wolves will continue to spread. So far, their return has been a success story and a chance for nature, with, it is to be hoped, many new chapters to come.